Bartosz Groszek is currently our championship leader, and this home event for him in Poznań was actually the place of his racing debut in the Eastern European TCR. Last year, Bartosz Groszek, he scored 4 points in the opening race last season, and then immediately his first victory in the race number 2. It was actually then the only victory of his championship last time out, but he somehow decided that he loved being on the podium within the Eastern European TCR, so he never really got off it in all of the remaining races in 2021 season, because he was twice second at Grobnik, then he was second and third in Slovakia, and then second twice again to top off the season in Brno, and he finished 4th overall in the championship. This year he's definitely hoping to go, well, 3 up and take the title. Currently, he is the championship leader. He scored a victory to open the season with in Hungary, and then he had a trio of 4th places in the second race in Hungary and both races at Red Bull Ring. Yesterday, it was a 2nd place behind Petr Semerád, who beat him on the road. Petr Semerád taking his first pole position of the season in Friday's qualifying. Petr Semerád, therefore, having won race number 1, got to draw the number that would then decide how many places we would reverse for the starting grid of race number 2, and he actually drew the best number he possibly could, because usually in the hat we have got numbers from 6 to 10, and 6 it was for him, which means that Petr Semerád is dropping down to 6th on the grid. He will be starting alongside Bartosz Groszek. There he is, the Polish driver, 5th on the starting grid. That also means on the clean side of the grid. However, as he told me right before the race, it's not really that much of a difference in terms of grip here in Poland. However, where you really want to be for the first corner is actually the inside line, so we might see a switchback from him. Žarko Knego, a Croatian driver, we have him in the 10th place on the grid, but it is Sebastian Steibl on pole position, having finished 6th yesterday. He is now on pole position. He's still waiting for his first victory in the Eastern European TCR, and he definitely has a chance today, because it is quite difficult to overtake here at Poznań, but still his pace recently has not been exactly the best, so it's going to be a hard race for him. Alongside Sebastian Steibl, we have got Václav Janík on the front row. Václav Janík, he has been enjoying a great season, not only as a team manager, but also a racing driver himself. Václav Janík has already scored a couple of podiums in Austria, and he also saw his team score a 1-2 victory last weekend in Belgium in the European TCR. Thanks to Joachim Galáš and Maťo Homola, they made a wonderful breakthrough and scored the best result for the team of the season so far with their brand new Hyundai Elantras, which they actually debuted in the season opener of the Eastern European TCR earlier on in April in Hungary, where Joachim Galáš actually scored a victory in the second race. So Joachim Galáš and Maťo Homola, they tried the car that was absolutely brand new from the factory back then, and then went on to race in the European TCR and already scored a 1-2 for Janík Motorsport Racing. Václav Janík himself, therefore, on the front row of the grid now. Behind him on row number 2, that is 3rd placed Milenko Vukovic in his Renault Megane RS from Vukovic Motorsport. He is joined on the grid by his son, Milan Vukovic. He is currently in 7th on the grid. Milan Vukovic, he has spent the first 2 rounds of the Asset Cup series in the Renault Twingo Cup, but as the Renault Twingo Cup is not racing here in Poland, he took the opportunity and is starting with the TCR machine. So there he is, the car number 76. That's Milan Vukovic, his dad Milenko, car number 75. On the 2nd row of the grid. Alongside him, Petr Čížek, who is still waiting for his first victory, so he's definitely one of the candidates to extend our let's say, ever-changing season. We've already had 5 different winners out of first 5 races. Petr Cížek definitely a candidate to make it 6 out of 6. Behind him, Bartosz Groszek and Petr Semerád, yesterday's 2 fastest drivers on row number 3. In 7th, Milan Vukovic. In 8th, Tomáš Řepecký. 9th place, that is Radim Adámek and Žarko Kněgo. Closing the field in 10th. We only have 10 cars on the grid today. Yesterday we had 11, but Sanel Čehić had a big crash in the first race. He rolled his car on the opening lap in the rear part of the track in those troublesome and fearsome S's corners. He sent his car spinning across the track and across the grass and then hit the hill that's on the inside there, and that rolled his car on its roof. The car wasn't even damaged that much, but still significantly enough to prevent the Bosnian driver to start the race on Sunday here in Poznań. So this is the go-kart part of the racing track, through which we are reaching the 3rd sector of the circuit. We are on the formation lap at this 4-kilometer racetrack. You've just seen the map of it, and these are the bitey corners. We had a number of crashes here already during the weekend across pretty much all the championships, so they do not seem that difficult, but trust me, they are really fast and sweeping and also bumpy. Here, through this little fast left-hander, you might notice the cars sort of bottoming a little, sort of dipping at one point, because there is a bit of a bump there on the inside, and when you hit that in a very, let's say, unfortunate way, you might actually find yourself flying into the barriers, which are closer than you would love them to. And through the last corner we go. This is a really fast right-hander that brings us back onto the start and finish straight. Žarko Kněgo. In a month, the TCR is visiting his home country. We're going to Croatia, to Grobnik. And he is going to be hoping for a good result there. But before that, there is still 25 more minutes of racing action to be worked through right now. So the green flag is being waved to indicate that everybody is correctly on the starting grid, and the red lights go on. The red lights are on, and when they're off, we will be racing in Poland. Sebastian Steibl made a terrible start, and he actually stuck on the grid, so he stopped there. Everybody managed to avoid him, but Václav Janík shoots into the lead of the race from Milenko Vukovic and Petr Cížek. Bartosz Groszek slots into 4th there, but having to fight Petr Semerád down the inside into the first corner, and there is a crash in with Milenko Vukovic. Václav Janík sent him spinning. There was a contact between the two, so Václav Janík holding on to the lead of the race. Petr Semerád enjoying a bit of rallying now, exiting the first corner and dropping down the order. Václav Janík leading the race from Milenko Vukovic and Petr Cížek, who is still 3rd. Behind him, the local driver Bartosz Groszek trying to find his way past, diving down the inside already into the 4th corner. Bartosz Groszek up into 3rd. He's definitely going to try to make ground as fast as he can, because on the opening laps, that's where you can make ground more easily and more quickly. Milenko Vukovic on it again, round the outside on Václav Janík, who's holding on to the 1st place. There was a contact between the two in the opening corner of the race, and we might want to see that as again, just like probably even the race stewards, because there was definitely a touch between the two. Let's see the start again. Sebastian Steibl stalled on the grid, and he was really lucky not to be hit by anybody. Václav Janík took the inside, but Milenko Vukovic tried it on him round the outside, but he closed the door on him. There was contact between the two, and that sent Milenko Vukovic spinning and sliding through the opening corner also. Petr Semerád was then pushed wide onto the grass, and he lost a couple of places. So Václav Janík leading the race at the end of the opening lap from Milenko Vukovic. And in 3rd we have already got Bartosz Groszek, who has dealt with Petr Cížek, Bartosz Groszek already on it, but Milenko Vukovic enjoying a beautiful top speed of his car. He's carrying 40 extra kilos in his Renault Megane thanks to success in Austria, but now he's down the inside into the first corner, and Milenko Vukovic takes the lead, and round the outside goes Bartosz Groszek on Václav Janík. Side by side they go through the Baba Yaga corner, and Bartosz Groszek already up into second. Beautiful stuff there from the home driver, but Václav Janík is fighting back and trying it round the outside into the Devil's Smile. This is, however, a corner that is now more beneficial to Bartosz Groszek because he's holding onto the inside line there and he is making this stick. That was a beautiful stuff through the first corner. Again, from the Polish driver, he had to do it the longer way around the outside, but he managed to make it stick even though he was running there through the dirty part of the track, and it is now only Milenko Vukovic in the way of Bartosz Groszek and in his view of the home victory, just like last season. Bartosz Groszek already on it, and this should suit him well because, as I already mentioned, Milenko Vukovic, thanks to all the success in Austria, is carrying 40 extra kilograms of success ballast in his car. So the car is definitely not going to be as nimble, as agile as he needs it to be. Bartosz Groszek already glued to his rear wing, waiting probably to get back onto the start and finish straight to gain correct momentum through the last corner, through the last right-hander. Behind them, Václav Janík, Petr Cížek and Tomáš Řepecký in fifth. Through the fast right-hander we go, and although Audi RS3 is not bad on the straights, the Renault Megane is sometimes even better, but it's the previous generation, let's say previous evolution of the Megane that Vukovic Motorsport prepares, because the newer generation is now in the hands of Milan Vukovic, who is now somewhere around 8th place. Milenko Vukovic holding on to the lead of the race. Bartosz Groszek knows that he does not have many opportunities in the race because it is very hot, like yesterday, and that was ultimately what prevented him from staging more of a fight on Petr Semerád in the latter stages of yesterday's race, because the tires simply dropped off in the Polish heat of the June weekend. Bartosz Groszek sending it there again, trying to stay close to Milenko Vukovic. The situation is actually a little worse for Vukovic because of those 40 kilos. The tires are going to get worked up much harder than they would normally be. You're simply carrying 40 kilograms of extra weight that is doing nothing but hamper your performance, which is actually the point of the BOP system. But Milenko Vukovic is going to have to defend hard here in Poland, and it is not only the Audi engine propelling Bartosz Groszek forward, it's also the motivation to actually make it in front of his home crowd, just like last year where he took his first victory in the Eastern European TCR. Petr Semerád now on the back of Tomáš Řepecký, Václav Janík having a fight of his own with Petr Cížek for third place in the current standings of the race. Bartosz Groszek is seemingly faster than the Swiss driver, and Petr Cížek diving down the inside on Václav Janík into the Devil's Smile, and they are now running side by side through the inside part of the track. But this is going to be on the hand of Petr Cížek, the following left-hand corner, but they are somehow still side by side. And onto the go-kart part of the track they are running now. Václav Janík round the outside is longer on the brakes and somehow manages to keep it in front of Petr Cížek. What a beautiful scrap between the two there. They are still remaining alongside each other, but Václav Janík defending the third position. Wow, what a maneuver, what a fight. Nice attempt from Petr Cížek, but he is finding a very fierce opposition in Václav Janík. So the two Czech drivers enjoying a great fight, and in a little while it's going to become a three-way battle because Petr Semerad is closing in quickly. Bartosz Groszek still very close behind Milenko Vukovic, but he's finding it really hard to actually find the correct spot to overtake Vukovic. Čížek now again alongside Václav Janík down the pit straight into the first corner. Václav Janík is so good on the braking, but this time out Petr Čížek decides no, third place is going to be mine, and it is now. Petr Semerad now also in touch with his teammate and team boss. Already having a look down the inside, this is definitely going to be easy. They are not going to fight each other very hard. And Petr Semerad is through immediately. And with 17.5 minutes left in this race, there's still plenty of time to make up for pretty much anything. So although the opening lap was not really best for Petr Semerad, he was sent wide onto the grass and lost a couple of places, had to make up ground again. He is now up into fourth and closing in on Petr Čížek, and there is a still realistic possibility for him to win this race and for him to become the first driver of the 22 season to become the two-time winner in the Eastern European TCR, because Bartosz Groszek, although he's trying everything he can, he's still finding it hard. But now there's a big mistake from Milenko Vukovic, which lets Bartosz Groszek through. Bartosz Groszek is leading the race now on his home soil, and through the last right-hander they go. Bartosz Groszek will now welcome his fans with the newly gained first position. And even though it's not that many fans here in the grandstands, you'll definitely feel the atmosphere from the rooftop of the paddock building as Bartosz Groszek shoots past all of them now in the first place. Bartosz Groszek leading his home race from Milenko Vukovic. Bartosz Groszek was really finding it hard to actually find the correct spot to overtake the Swiss driver. Well, Milenko Vukovic was actually doing everything he actually needed to stay in the lead of the race, and he was negating all the advantages that Bartosz Groszek was managing to find. But then Milenko Vukovic made a big error in the second to last corner and left the door wide open. Let's take a look at that once again. Milenko Vukovic a little too fast there through the S's, and that sent his car spinning. He did manage to stay on the road, but that left the door wide open and on the home track. Bartosz Groszek definitely did not need to be invited twice. This is Milan Vukovic, Milenko's son, behind Tomáš Řepecký, and in front of the erstwhile pole sitter Sebastian Steibl, who is already down to 8th. Behind him Žarko Kněgo and Radim Adámek. Vukovic gaining his first ever kilometers, racing kilometers in the TCR machine. It was actually decided not that long before the weekend that he would be driving the second car of the Vukovic Motorsport team. So he had nowhere to test the car, but here, luckily for him, the whole Thursday was actually designated for testing drives. So all day they could test the cars and get first mileage under their belts. So Bartosz Groszek in the lead, and this is a beautiful scrap in the second half of the top 10. Žarko Kněgo trying to get past Sebastian Steibl in the fight for 8th place. There is the race leader Bartosz Groszek from Milenko Vukovic. Petr Čížek still 3rd, Petr Semerad in 4th. And Václav Janík losing a little bit of ground already, and he is nearly 3 seconds down on his teammate Petr Semerad. Tomáš Řepecký in 6th from Milan Vukovic, and then these two, Sebastian Steibl and Žarko Kněgo. Bartosz Groszek now demonstrating that he did indeed had superior pace to Milenko Vukovic, although he was finding it hard to actually overtake the Swiss driver. But on the previous lap, Bartosz did 1:38.3, whereas Milenko Vukovic only managed 38.9. But Petr Cížek 1:38 dead. So faster than the race leader. Petr Semerád 1:37.8. So he is currently the fastest driver on the track, and the 1:37.8 lap was actually the fastest lap of the race so far. 1:38.3 again for Bartosz Groszek right now. And look at that. That is the Vukovic Motorsport Megane. That is Milan Vukovic retiring. I believe that was the go-kart part of the track. And Milan Vukovic pulled up on at the side of the track. Žarko Knego attacking down the inside on Sebastian Steibl. They are still going side by side each other on the infield section. But the next corner is another left-hander. Oh, but Žarko Knego was very wide indeed and skips across the grass, which makes all his work undone again. So he's dropping behind Steibl. He made his tires dirty, so they are not going to grip for a couple of corners right now. And he already has lost a couple of seconds, or he has also lost a couple of seconds to Sebastian Steibl. So he has all of that to do again. Bartosz Groszek extending his lead to 1.5 seconds in the first place. Milenko Vukovic holding off the rest of the competition. Petr Cížek and Petr Semerád behind him in third and fourth. There they go through the last right-hander. And did you know actually that the famous TV car show, the Grand Tour, was here at Tor Poznań earlier on this week, with all three presenters, Jeremy Clarkson, James May, and also Richard Hammond, and yeah, they had a race on their own, and guess what? Richard Hammond crashed here in Poznań a couple of days back, exiting the last corner in one of the sports cars, as the trio is traveling across Poland to follow World War II steps for their latest episode of the famous TV show. So that is to be watched later on this year. And we are now racing at the very same track, only a couple of days after the filming. So through the last corner we go again, with 10 minutes remaining in this race. Ooh, and this is the reason for the retirement of Milan Vukovic. You saw the steam coming out of the cooling system of that Megane. So although the car is fast already, and the development has reached a good level, the reliability is still something that the team is going to need to work on, because technical trouble already stopped Milenko Vukovic from collecting a victory in the first race in Austria. Then he did make the job, or did finish the job on the second time of asking in the second race of the weekend in the end. But now the reliability is hampering the team yet again. Luckily for Milenko though, he is driving the previous modification, or let's say previous evolution. If you check the cars sitting next to each other, both Renault Meganes, you're going to have to look for a while to actually find a difference, and you're going to have to open the bonnet to see it. So there's differences of the cooling arrangement, and also rear suspension is a little bit more adjusted now, a little bit more modified, a little bit more developed. car that let go in today's race in the Polish heat. Temperatures rising further still, 29 degrees the air temperature and 47.2, that's the track. So everybody is going to have to watch their tires as well, because that was a big factor in yesterday's race. And you just have to hope that you got the pressures right with your team, not to find yourself losing pace too much in the latter stages of the race, because then there's not really much you can do with it. Bartosz Groszek, he has opened a little bit of a gap, 2 seconds currently, and he's not really getting away any further now. So he's trying to manage his tires a little better than yesterday when he was trying to fight Petr Semmerad for the race victory, but didn't really manage more than possibly one attempt. And that was pretty much it. On the previous lap, Bartosz Groszek did 1:38.5, Vukovic 1:38.7, Čížek 1:38.6, Semmerad 1:39.1. And it seems at places that Petr Semmerad is losing ground a little bit. So he caught up quickly with the drivers in front of himself, but he's been unable to launch an overtake. Petr Čížek defending it from the inside into the first corner. He's also losing touch a little bit with Milenko Vukovic. Now it seems that Petr Semmerad had a little better exit. Coming out of the first corner, is he going to try something? No, he's too far back. But they are still very closely together. Petr Čížek trying to have a look down the inside. He's still too far back, and he has to be cautious, because if whatever he tries backfires, then he will find himself in the clutches of Petr Semmerad very quickly, and Petr Semmerad is trying to have a look down the inside already. That's indeed what just happened. Ooh, Milenko Vukovic making a big mistake, running off the track and letting both of these drivers through, and Petr Čížek fighting back and re-overtaking, re-passing Petr Semmerad now in the fight for second. Milenko Vukovic stops on the grass, so both Megans are out of this race. But Petr Čížek is now defending from Petr Semmerad. Round the outside goes the car number 68, the Hyundai i30, and Petr Semmerad goes up into second place right now. So what was earlier on a fight for third is now becoming a fight for second in this race, because Milenko Vukovic stopped at the exit of the second corner. Something seems to have snapped on his car, and both Vukovic Motorsport machines are now out of this race. What a rotten bit of luck for both of the drivers on Sunday morning. Petr Semmerad up into second, so the positions are now swapped compared to yesterday's race. 3 minutes 40 seconds left on the clock, so we are entering the last laps of this race. Petr Semmerad can still probably catch Bartosz Groszek. Let's see what happens now, and let's see what happened then. Milenko Vukovic just as Petr Semerád and Petr Čížek were fighting, Milenko Vukovic had to pull over onto the grass there and stop. You'll see him now in the background stopping his French hatchback, just as Petr Semerád was passing Petr Čížek. Petr Čížek was defending nicely, but in the end he came short and found no answers to what Petr Semerád still had up his sleeve. Milenko Vukovic in the end managed to get back to pits, but that is going to be it for his race. So the race leader earlier on is now out of this race, Bartosz Groszek. There is not a lot that is still splitting him from another home victory, but it can still be long 2 minutes. Petr Semerád closing in. There were 4 seconds between the two on the finish line the last time out. Petr Semerád now managing to be faster, having just overtaken Petr Čížek. Let's see what happens in those closing laps, because we still have 2 laps remaining in this race. 1 minute 50 as we go across the line. So this is the penultimate lap of the race. Bartosz Groszek sending it very quickly onto the inside line, making it a double apex from the opening first corner. There he goes, Petr Semerád. He is a long way behind. So 3.5 across the line this time out. 1:38.8 from Bartosz Groszek and 1:38.2. That is not enough for Petr Semerád to be able to catch up with his Polish opponent. Petr Čížek did 1:39.4, so lost further ground. And currently is on the way to third, which would make it another podium finish. So good season overall for Petr Čížek. This would be his 3rd podium finish of the 2022 championship. Half a minute left. Somebody kicked up some dust. Was it Petr Semerád or was it Petr Čížek? It's Petr Čížek. He's made a big mistake there in the last sector and he's losing ground. He's lost third. Václav Janík is up into 3rd position. Petr Čížek lost it on the penultimate lap. No, what a bad luck for the Czech driver. Petr Čížek made a big mistake there. And is there any problem with this car, or was it a mistake on his own? No, I do not see any puncture, so simply Petr Čížek run out of talent through the last sector. We would like to watch that again to see exactly what happened, but suddenly he disappeared from the shot. The time is up now, so we are on the final lap of the 2nd race of the 3rd round of the Eastern European TCR here at Tor Poznań, and it is the local hero Bartosz Groszek in the lead, and he is leading comfortably. Petr Semerád has been having a superior pace lately, but it's not going to be enough, and on that previous lap he even lost more time, so it's now 4.6. That should be more than comfortable for Bartosz Groszek, who scored his first victory on his debut last year here in Poland, as he enjoyed his first racing weekend in the Eastern European TCR. He then went on to finish on the podium in every other race in the last season. He was 4th overall in the championship, having just lost the fight for 3rd with Karol Wittke in the season finale in Brno. But he is back in the 2022 season. He won the opening race in Hungary. He has not been on the top step of the podium since then, but he's been leading the championship. He's on the way to win the title, but definitely he is going to end up the first half of the season in a victorious fashion. Bartosz Groszek wins the home race here in Poznań. So it's a victory in race number 2 at Tor Poznań. Bartosz Grosiek welcomes his home spectators with a momentous victory, and Poland is going to celebrate big time. It is Petr Semerad, yesterday's race winner, making it up into second after a beautiful race that started badly with an excursion across the grass on the opening lap, but he made it up to second, having overtaken Petr Cížek in the latter stages of the race, and it is another podium for Václav Janík. So Janík Motorsport Hyundais, you simply can't get them off the podium lately, can you? And they are, both of them, now on the rostrum. After that big mistake from Petr Cížek on the penultimate lap of this race. That is so frustrating for the Czech driver, but that's the motorsport. That's simply what happens, and yeah, until you reach the finish line, anything can happen, and nothing is set in stone.